9:31 now, and time for Tillamook today. We're doing it a little different today. I'm doing it, and we have Commissioner Mark Labhart as our guest this morning. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So, little flying by the seat of the pants change of plans today, but that's okay because you're a great interview. So this should be piece of cake. What's happening?
So we've got a number of things to chat about this morning that thought folks might be interested in. The first one is I think folks realize with our December storm that we had, we qualified for a presidential declaration, which required that we produce some projects for FEMA reimbursement, and there's about $10 million worth of projects that are going to fix up public infrastructure, and that's roads, water systems, sewer systems, anything that's a public infrastructure that was damaged. But there's another part of the FEMA program called the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Hazard Mitigation Grant Program is some additional dollars that FEMA provides to counties that have a hazard mitigation plan, which we do, and it provides up to $2.75 million of additional funding for projects that don't necessarily qualify for FEMA funding from the disaster. So we brought together our Hazard Mitigation Steering Committee a couple weeks ago and looked at a number of projects in Tillamook County that might qualify for this. And so we've got a priority list of projects that we're going to be submitting to the State Office of Emergency Management and to FEMA to see if we can get some of that additional $2.75 million. So the first project that came up as a high priority is the Kilchis House flooding. I don't know if you remember or not.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, the Kilchis House, the water came across the road there and went right into the Kilchis House Senior Center, and we had to evacuate people. The drainage system out there is not very good. Well, it didn't qualify for FEMA funds, but it does qualify for hazard mitigation grant funding. And so worked with the city, with Aaron Scar from the Kilchis House and the county, and it came up as a high priority project. So that'll be our number one priority project, is to fix the drainage system out there near the Kilchis House.
Good.
And then Wheeler had some significant stormwater damage that didn't qualify. For the folks who don't know, I mean, their post office is still closed. They had water running across the road and into the businesses, and it was a nightmare. And a lot of that didn't qualify for FEMA funding, so that came up number two. And so if we can get some funding for that, we can help improve the drainage system in the community of Wheeler. And then, as I call it Cottrey Hill, but it's actually called Burton Hill, south of town out by Les Schwab Tires there was a number of homes that were damaged, and the road system was damaged. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but
oh yeah, where it's sliding down yeah, I drive by there a lot, and that is just scary looking.
Yeah, and it was hugely damaged. It was all private property, no county roads there, so they didn't qualify. But
and no insurance that covers that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Their homeowners insurance didn't cover it, so they were in a real tough strait. So the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program can qualify them for some potential buyouts if they're willing to do that. So had a meeting with the property owners up there, and to the letter, almost all the property owners were interested in exploring this further. So that came in number 3 on our priority list. And then Holden Creek, which is the little creek behind Tillamook there that goes behind Hampton Lumber Company. We always have problems with flooding back there, and so the Holden Creek Fish Passage area was priority number 4. And then on down the list, Coleman Creek, there's a culvert there that's failed that didn't qualify, so we made that number 5. And then the Shiloh Levee, which is a levee right by the Shiloh Inn there, and that thing is it's a what we call a training structure. We try to push the river away from the Shiloh area there, and almost every time there's a big flood, it overtops and goes into Fred Meyer's and those areas there. So what we did was we said, we've got to fix this Shiloh levee and do some reconstruction work there. So we prioritized that. And then there's a Prouty Creek steam crossing structure, Hall Slough reconnection, trying to fix that. And then dredging along the Tillamook coastline. So we're probably not going to get all these projects funded, but I can almost guarantee you that we're one of the first counties that always steps up to the plate to help fund some of these projects. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to get some funding to try to help fix some of this. And I'm fairly confident that the Kilchis House is going to receive some funding, and I'm fairly confident that the Wheeler Storm Drainage and possibly Burton Hill. So, she showed up. Hi, LeeAnn.
Hey, Mark. I walked in with I thought a minute to spare, but I think it was a minute late. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Where are we on your list?
We're on. Do you have your sheet with you?
I do.
Okay, so we just finished Hazard Mitigation Grant Program.
Oh, okay.
Talking about some of the additional dollars that we may be able to acquire from FEMA for this Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. So,
right.
So hopefully we will be able to receive those funds. We're going to be right up there at the front of the list, I'm sure, because we've done it in the past, and FEMA knows that we've usually got our act together. So,
right. You guys know how to do it for sure.
Yeah. So the next on the list is, I thought folks might be interested in. Thank you, Shana. Next on the list is the Transit Lodging Tax Promotion Funds Project and Facility Grant Project.
Right. So
for those who don't know, Transit Lodging Tax Program, the county didn't do a very good job of estimating the revenue for that. Most of the time government estimates revenue and it never comes in what you expect. They always overestimate and it always comes in under. Well, in this case, we went just the opposite. We estimated that we would receive about $1.5 million a year from the transit lodging tax, and now we're up to about $3 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's been hugely successful program that's just brought in a lot of money that we can use to help promote tourism and fix up tourism-related facilities. And so a portion of the money, 70%, can be used for tourism, promotion, and advertising in tourism facilities.
Right.
So we break it into two programs, tourism promotion, and what we do is we ask folks to, if they would like to promote their event, to go ahead and submit some grants requests, and we will help promote those. And so that just got finished on April 12th. And we had an advisory committee from folks from throughout Tillamook County. We try to do it geographically so we have good representation from throughout the county and then good representation from the tourist industry as well as private citizens. And so they have recommended, and we have agreed to fund the following projects. The Tillamook County Pioneer Museum. We're going to fund them for what they call step back in time promotion efforts. And then the Pacific City Chamber, they're going to produce a website video. The International Police Museum, we're going to do some print online ads for that.
And that's in Rockaway Beach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then another one for the Pacific City and Nestucca Valley Chamber. Every year they have their Birding and Blues Festival.
Right.
And so we're going to help them with some funding for that. The Tillamook Estuaries Partnership, some education, recreation program funds for that. Latimer Quilt and Textile Center, some print ads and rack cards to help promote them. The Nesquin Golf Course, we're going to do some marketing and PR for them to get more people down there to use that facility. Bay City Arts Center, going to do some education outreach funding for them. The Nesquin Valley School, they've got a program called Explore Oregon Camp. So we're going to do some promotion and advertising for them. The Tillamook Air Museum, marketing and ads to help promote the Air Museum and get more folks here for that facility. And then TCAN, which stands for the Tillamook County Art Network, we're going to do some website marketing materials for them. So what we try to do is stretch out the advertising dollars for some of these groups that may be a little bit short on advertising dollars, and it's a real positive thing.
Yeah, it looks like the grants in that particular division range from a few thousand up to maybe 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that's helpful for them for sure.
Yep, they're small grants. We don't profess to say we're going to fund everything.
Right.
We just want to help them if they need a little bit of help in match dollars or those kind of things. We can step up and help them.
That goes a long way. It really does, especially with some of the new social media advertising or whatever. But I'm going to take a minute here to read a little something from one of our sponsors, Tillamook Bay Community College. The Tillamook Bay Community College Foundation has more than $50,000 in scholarships to award to students and prospective students studying at TBCC. If you or someone you know is studying at TBCC or plans to enroll in the fall, then be sure to mention that applications for these scholarships are now open and will be accepted through May 6th. To apply, log on to www.tillamookbaycc.edu and visit the scholarship page located under the Getting Started tab. Students will have to fill out one application per scholarship. There are opportunities for single parents, returning students, second-year students, students interested in the healthcare field, criminal justice field, and so much more. Do not miss out on this great opportunity to help pay for your education at Tillamook Bay Community College. Okay, Mark, and there's more, isn't there?
Yes, so I talked about the promotion grants, which are small grants, as you said, but then we also have what we call the facilities grants, which are the big bucks grants.
Yeah, that's a lot more, okay.
Yeah, we're going to allocate about $1.1 million to the following projects. And I want to give special thanks and acknowledgement to Commissioner Bill Bartline. Bill came up with a really good idea with the other two commissioners bought into, and that is we've got a lot of really good projects here, and we didn't have enough money in this fiscal year. So what Bill's idea was, well, let's go into next fiscal year and help pay for some of these projects because they're such good projects. And so we agreed to do that. We're going to take some money from this year's fiscal budget that we have, and then we know we're going to have some additional dollars in fiscal year 17, which begins in July of this year, and allocate the dollars out to that. So the following projects receive funding, and I might just say for the public's benefit that's listening, what we do is we accept grant applications, and then we give it to what we call a TAC, and that's a Tourism Advisory Committee, similar to promotions. It's made up of people from throughout the county, north, central, and south, and then a variety of interests. There's tourism folks on there, there's business folks on there, there's general public folks on there. And then they have a series of criteria that they use to evaluate these grant requests, and then they prioritize those, and then they submit that to the Economic Development Council, which votes on it, and then eventually comes to the Board of Commissioners and votes on it. So we were able to fund, there's, I think, 17 applications, and we were able to fund 13 of those.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and it's just like any grant program. You know, you're as good as the grant writer that you have, and you're as good as meeting the criteria that you have.
Right.
And so, those that didn't get funded, just like if you apply for a grant with the Ford Family Foundation or Fred Meyer's or something, sometimes you get funded, sometimes you don't. So,
and sometimes you don't get funded in one round, but you will later.
Yeah, you possibly could get funded later.
Yeah.
So people that didn't get funded this round are encouraged to come back. So here's what got funded. The Kiwanda Community Center in Pacific City, they're going to do a 2,000 square foot remodel to the center down there, and we're going to provide them $200,000 to help them expand their operation.
That goes a long way.
It does. Porta Garibaldi, they wanted an event center tent, and so we're going to give them $57,450 for that. And the Stucco Valley Community Alliance is looking at expanding a 60-space parking lot. There's a real problem with parking down in that Pacific City area, particularly. I mean, it seems like every weekend now there's just that parking lot's completely packed. They've got to find some more parking. We're going to give them $97,812 for that. City of Rockaway Beach wants to rebuild their kitchen facility for their event center that they have there in City Hall. We're going to help them with that with $18,250. The Tillamook Force Center up on Highway 6. We're going to help them with a match dollar of $80,000 for a pavilion. I was up there a couple weekends ago, and there was like 5 buses there.
Oh, my.
And it was all children from the Portland Public Schools that came out to spend a day in the forest.
Oh, that's great.
And a lot of these kids, it's the first time they've ever been to the forest.
Right.
And so we can teach them about forest management, fish and wildlife, and they get to see the movie, and it's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
So we're going to, we need to provide some more space, and so helping with a pavilion project there. City of Tillamook, the Carnahan Boat Dock, they need to do some major work down there. We're going to help them with some match dollars there, $100,000 for improving the Carnahan Boat Dock.
Didn't it got silted in pretty badly during the December storms, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
It did, yep. And for those salmon fishermen, you know it's a really popular spot, and it gets maxed out. TAPA, which it's the Tillamook Association for Performing Arts, they need some ADA bathroom access down there. I don't know if you've been to a TAPA play.
I was just there the other day, and Christian showed me what they got started there with the new ADA bathroom. It looks great.
Yeah. So, and they here's an example. You know, they didn't make it the first round. We asked them to come back and apply again.
That's
and
right.
They got funded in the second round.
Yeah.
So,
all's well that ends well.
Yeah. So we're giving them $29,800 for their bathroom. The bike and skate park, and I don't know if you've been out on 3rd Street, but they're doing a lot of digging out there right now. And so we've helped with some match funding for them for $31,454. The Salmonberry Trail, we agreed we needed a project manager to help oversee that whole operation. So State Parks hired a person, and Tillamook County, Washington County, and Cycle, Oregon, and State Parks have agreed to provide a manager, and so we said we would give 1/4 of the cost to do that. So we've provided $25,000 to help provide that person to help oversee that park manager program.
Okay, is that person based here, or do you know where they're based?
No, it's actually, his name is Dennis Wiley, and he's out of Salem.
Oh, okay, all right.
But he's over here a lot.
Great.
Tillamook County Parks, the Quanda Beach access, that's again at Pacific City. There's a big problem with beach access there. There's lots of controversy that goes on there, particularly on weekends with people blocking the entranceway so that the dories can't get in and out, and trying to keep control of the public, those kind of things. We're going to give them $132,659 to improve the beach access there.
Yeah, that was another one that didn't get it the first time around, but is getting it now, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Cloverdale, the Cloverdale Wayside Project. Just as you come into Cloverdale on the north side there's a opening, kind of a wayside there. We're going to develop that in conjunction with ODOT grant to put in bathrooms, a picnic area, and pave the parking area, and then there's going to be a bus stop for the wave right there. So that's going to be a real cool spot in Cloverdale. Now, we're going to help them with some funding of $74,537.
Cool.
Back up north now, Rockaway Beach. We're going to do some improvements to the caboose there, which is their little tourism information center there. $26,000 we're going to provide to them. And then the last one, the Tillamook Forest Heritage Trust, the Salmonberry Trail planning. We need to do some more planning. This is a huge project over many years, and we need to do it right. So we're going to provide them with $50,000 for planning projects.
Okay.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. And like you said, it really does represent the whole county pretty well.
Yep.
Geographically.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I'm going to take this break here again and read our last word from our last sponsor, which is the Tillamook County Pioneer Museum. The Tillamook County Pioneer Museum and Kilchis Point Reserve are ideal locations for field trips. From early pioneer life in Tillamook County to environmental education at the reserve, they have the venue and program to make every field trip educational and fun for students. To learn more about the museum and Kilchis Point Reserve, visit the museum's website, tcpm.org, and click on Teachers and Educators. Many of the lessons and activities described can be adapted for any grade level. Contact the museum with any questions about a field trip at 842-4553, and that's 503, of course. They do their best to ensure that every class has a meaningful experience. If you'd like to schedule a field trip, you could fill out the field trip request form at their website. Okay, Mark?
Okay. Wanted to let folks know that the Southern Flow Corridor Project, which is the flood reduction project in North Tillamook, you're going to see that starting up here in May. There's a bunch of things that are starting up. You know, the Downtown Tillamook Project 1016, of course, you can see a lot of activity starting there, but you're going to see some stuff starting up on the Southern Flow Corridor. We're probably going to sign the contract here real shortly, and then they will be getting work almost immediately to help reduce that flooding in the North Tillamook area.
And when you say we'll be seeing it, where will we be seeing it?
If you go heading north on 101 off to your left or to the west, you're going to see some activity out there. If you go out by the hospital and look off to the north there, you're going to see activity. So it's kind of in that block north of Tillamook and west of Tillamook.
Near that fishing hole where you can pay to go in and park and fish?
Well, it'll actually be a little bit north of that.
Oh, okay.
So, but there's going to be a lot of activity out there with tearing down the old dikes that were built back in the 1800s and creating a floodway or a flood pathway through there.
Okay.
So that we can get floodwaters out to the bay quicker.
Got it.
I wanted to at least mention this because I noticed it the other day, and and hopefully, I'm sure TBCC is going to do this, but I wanted to let folks know that I saw a bunch of Tillamook lumber out there at the TBC location for the new facility, the Natural Resources Center out there.
Right.
And I talked to President Green about it, and she says, oh, yeah, Tillamook lumber donated $10,000 worth of lumber to help us do that. No fanfare, anything like that. But
no press releases or anything,
well,
right?
I mean, I think that's just really cool that, here's one of our major businesses in Tillamook, and they step up to help with our community college, and I just didn't want that to go unrecognized, and can't thank Tillamook Lumber enough for that.
Yeah.
I just came from a meeting with Kim Metlin with Joseph Rail Riders.
Right.
Pretty positive meeting. For those who don't know, the Joseph Rail Riders are the little bikes that you sit on railroad tracks and you pedal, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's essentially the old speeder car, but you actually pedal these, and they're going to be starting up. The Bay City Planning Commission last night gave them approval, and so on the 26th, they will start the 30-day process, where they call it the appeal process. So on May 26th, hopefully they'll be official, and they are going to be providing rail rider service. So right there in Bay City, as you turn to go to the Fish Peddler, right where all the clam shells are, the oyster shells, they're going to have their operation set up right there with a parking lot, and you'll be able to jump on the rail rider and then ride into Tillamook, clear to Goodspeed Park, and then you can ride back on pedaling. And it's I've done it once, and it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And they're going to be building their little rail cars out at the port, and Kim's pretty excited about it. I'm a little worried that it's going to be too successful, and we're not going to have places for people to park, because I mean, when my wife and I were riding him it was kind of a promotion thing that he was doing. I mean, people were stopping and waving at us on the highway. And how do I do this? And how do I get on this? And it's been hugely successful up in the Joseph area. So Bay City has stepped up to the plate and to Port of Tillamook Bay. Jessica from the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. Justin was there from the chamber. Nan Devlin's going to do some free promotion for him.
Right.
Nan's our Tillamook Coast promotions folks from, and she's going to do some promotion for him. So I think it's going to be really successful.
Yeah, I can't imagine it not being.
Let's see. The next thing is a couple. Just for folks' information, there's going to be a Shellfish Legislative Task Force meeting here on Monday. Representative McEwen from down in the south part of the state is going to come up here. The reason I mention that is we've got some real issues off our coast with ocean acidification.
Right.
The oceans are becoming more acidic. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that it negatively impacts the ability for our shellfish to create shells, and in particular oyster shells. And so we've got to try to figure out a way to address this issue right now. And Mark Weigart out at the Whiskey Creek Shellfish Hatchery has been working with OSU to try to address the shellfish problem, because the oysters aren't setting shells because of this ocean acidification problem. So we're going to have a task force meeting here on Monday out of Netar's to help talk about that.
Yeah, I plan to go with you guys for that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. So another thing that's going to happen next Thursday night, we're going to have the Secretary of State candidates, not all of them, but I think there's going to be 3 here on April 28th at 6 p.m. at Tillamook Bay Community College. So if you're interested in learning about the Secretary of State candidates that are running, let's see, there's Val Hoyle, Brad Avakian. Oh, shoot.
Is it the incumbent?
No, she's not running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Boy, it tells you what I know.
Jean, I forget her last name now. She wanted to be, when she was appointed, she said, I'll be the Secretary of State, but I do not want the position.
So see, I missed that.
So,
okay.
So they're going to be here again Thursday, April 28th at 6 p.m. at TBCC. So if you want to go and ask them questions about what the Secretary of State does and how they would operate, be there at April 28th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, okay.
And then definitely, last but not least, this is a kind of a sad thing, but for those of us who knew Bob Riegert, he was just an outstanding Tillamook County citizen. There's going to be a celebration of his life on April 30th, next Saturday. Not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, April 30th at 2 p.m. at the fairgrounds. Bob was a huge OSU supporter.
Right.
He put a lot of money into that. But how I knew Bob was, I call him Mr. Tillamook. And the reason I call him Mr. Tillamook is he had a history of downtown Tillamook that you just couldn't believe. And he would do little walking tours, and he did one for me once, kind of the secret life of Tillamook. And you could walk around the downtown Tillamook buildings, and he would tell you, well, here's where the KKK, here's down in the basement down here, and then this building here, did you know it had a secret entrance into it?
Oh, my goodness.
And this building used to be a gas station, then it went to a grocery store, and now it's the liquor store. I mean, and he had all this history of downtown Tillamook that was just amazing. And then he also, he was so philanthropic. It was just amazing. I mean, he's donating to the new building at Tillamook Bay Community College. He gave our health department. He owned the buildings there, and he not only gave us a great lease rate, he gave us a tremendous lease rate, and it's not market value. And we asked him why, and he said, well, because I think we need to have a health department in downtown Tillamook, and I want to see it here, and I think it's good that I can help offset some of the cost for that so you can provide more services to folks. That's the kind of guy Bob Riegert was. And so
just a true booster in every sense.
Yeah, and his passing is just, I mean, it's so sad, but we're going to celebrate his life on April 30th at 2 p.m. at the fairgrounds.
And that's open to anyone who wants to come.
It is, yeah, and that's why they're having it at the fairgrounds.
I guess so.
So,
yeah. Well, I'm glad that they're going to have something that everybody can come and pay their respects. It's too bad that there was no video of him giving one of those tours downtown. That would have been something to keep around.
It would have been, yeah. Somebody should have walked around with him videotaping, because it was always funny. He goes, yeah, this building here, he's all excited about it. You know, this is a really cool spot here because they did this here. And of course, something that nobody knew about.
Right. Tillamook's underground.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that's the last of it then.
Well, I just want to let folks know that we're working on something that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, as with most state agencies, they're not fully funded to do what they're doing, and people ask more and more of agencies all the time. And ODF&W, they essentially get their source of funding from three sources: hunting license, fishing licenses, and grants, federal and state grants.
Right.
But yet they're being asked to do more that isn't related to hunting and fishing, non-game kind of things. And so there's a task force that's been formed by the governor to explore long-term and sustainable funding for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I just wanted to let folks know that we're going to be looking for innovative ideas about how to provide sustainable, long-term funding for the Department of Fish and Wildlife to move them into the next century. And hopefully we can reduce the license fee costs, because the legislature raised the license fees this last year.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of blowback from folks saying, well, I can't afford to go fishing now because they raised the license fees. So hopefully this long-term sustainable funding is going to be one of the goals is to reduce license fees. And so we're meeting monthly at the Capitol right now with a task force of 16 people. We've got Senator Edwards on there, Senator Whitsitt, and a couple other House representatives. But we got folks from Columbia Sportswear, some of the big REI, those kind of folks. So we're looking at different alternative funding sources that may never been thought of before.
Wow, that sounds great. I mean, what a great group of people.
Yeah, an example would be my wife. I swear she feeds birds in our backyard.
Yeah,
and she buys sunflower seeds in 50-pound bags, not the small bags. She buys sunflower seeds in the 50-pound bags.
Wow.
And she's always mixing up hummingbird stuff. Well, then ODF&W is asked to manage non-game, non-game, and so why not put a 10-cent a bag,
like a
surcharge on there? Yeah, like a pop can, and to help fund so that we can continue backyard bird programs and promote non-game instead of having, fishing or hunting licenses pay for that.
Yeah.
Because people want to see, there are a lot of bird watchers out there that want to see non-game or want to be able to, and so that's one example of a possible funding source to help provide those resources that the public wants us to provide. So,
well, it sounds like from who you said is participating, there should be some pretty innovative ideas coming out of that.
Yeah, got a good group. So
that's great.
We're supposed to be done in September, make a report back to the legislature. So.
Excellent. A lot of people will be happy to hear about that because I heard those complaints too. I'm sure everybody did. Well, thank you so much, Mark.
Okay, you're most welcome.
That's it for today. And tomorrow, State Representative David Gomberg will be the guest. And we'll see you then.